Well, today on Straight Talk, I'm pleased to welcome back a friend and a colleague I've had on before, David Hart, the founder and CEO of Ram Air International. David, how are you today?
I'm doing great this morning, Jeff.
Recently, you had the opportunity to work with some aftermath of some fire damage or wildfires.
Right. Uh, as made national, if not international news, the fires here in the Western United States were just rampant this year, with a focus on the McKenzie River Valley. One town in particular that comes up a lot is Detroit, Oregon, and we recently did some work out there.
Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some pictures that you sent me, and we actually have them in a slideshow and an article on cleanfacts.com. So if folks want to see that, I'll put the URL at the bottom of the screen. You can see it there. But David, so this is in Oregon, and what's the time frame we're talking about?
Well, the fire started in September, or at least the one to which we're referring, and just blew through that area. My company went out and did HVAC restoration the first week of November, and we're going to be going back out this week to do some more, and probably will be for a little time after that even. It's a lot of work. There.
Yeah, how far is that from you?
It's about an hour and a half.
Okay.
An hour and a half to 2 hours.
All right. Well, let's do this, David. Let me put up the pictures, and we'll have you just tell us a little bit about what happened during your experience. Of course, you're going to have more coming up, but we'll look at the first part of the devastation that you experienced. So, David, in this picture, looks like you in a not so pleasant place. Tell us about this. What are you thinking about when you took this selfie?
Right. Well, there is a lot of thought going through my head in that photo right there. I remember very distinctly being called out by a restoration company to perform the HVAC restoration as a result of the smoke in the remaining homes from that fire, the homes that stood amongst the others that had become rubble. And I didn't, I knew that when I drove out there that it was going to be an experience, seeing it on the news, read about it, but being there and seeing it and feeling it firsthand. First, you're driving through the mountains and the trees are just black. And then you start seeing the devastated homes. And this particular photo that we're looking at right now was a motel that was just absolutely, as you can see, it looks like it just went through a bombing in Afghanistan. And in that photo right there, I actually have goosebumps. I'm thinking to myself, to be honest with you, I can't even hardly put into words what I was thinking to myself. It was just more like, just wow, I'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah, what people have gone through in these situations is hard to imagine. Let's look at another photo. Tell us about this one. Now, obviously, you're traveling, and the background is amazing. What's going on here? How far away is that fire, and what were you thinking here?
Well, now, actually, to be honest with you, I did not take this photo. This photo was supplied to me by one of the homeowners for whom we were doing the restoration work. He had it on his phone because he was right there in the middle of all this, of course. But he shared with me some of these photos from his vantage point. And when I saw them, I was thinking to myself, God, if I lived there and I looked over at mountain and I saw that, I don't know what I'd be thinking. It'd be like the apocalypse,
Yeah. So this person that gave you this photo, was everything okay there with that home?
Yeah. His phone. You see, the thing is, Detroit has a population of 224 people. It's not huge.
Detroit, Oregon. Got to make sure people understand.
Good catch. Thank you. Detroit, Oregon. Yeah. Detroit, Michigan probably has a few more people than that. But yeah. So, and the homes are laid out a little bit. They're not like in a big city where they're right next to each other. And his home was untouched by the fire, but the smoke was so thick that it just permeated the home and therefore all of its contents, thus requiring the restoration for which we were contracted. But yeah, he was fine, and he was in good spirits while we were there, despite the fact that he knew that his entire town had just been devastated. He was positive.
And this photo shows the heat, the disaster that's impending.
Right. This is a close-up, obviously, of a tree that's just, right in the middle of getting the worst of it. Now, this particular area of forest, we saw it after, of course, weeks after the fire, and it was just black skeletons of trees.
Yeah, we're going to see a few of those photos here in a moment. I don't suppose you stayed at this hotel.
I have not stayed at, but I believe in your slide you do have a photo of a motel that I used to love to stay at, and I'll point that out when we get there. But this photo is really interesting to me because the sign, as you can see, is just melted. You can still see where it says Oak Park Motel, and then behind it, once again, it's reminiscent of an Afghanistan bombing to me.
Mm-hmm. So what a scenic view this was until the fire came.
Right. Now, this is Detroit Lake. If you see in the foreground of the water, there's stumps of trees. Now, that's normal. Every year, Detroit Lake drains in the certain parts of the year and is full right up to where you can see would be the water's edge, right up almost to that what was once a house.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that house has had it, that's for sure.
Now, I thought this was an interesting picture, sad picture, but this home is gone, yet across the street.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now this, I remember taking this photo. This is right in the middle of the town of Detroit. And like I pointed out, Detroit is very small, 224 people population. Now the town itself, it had 16 buildings in that town. 70% of those buildings were destroyed, leaving, quick math, five standing buildings. And there's a lot going on in this photo. If you see, there's a travel trailer over there that's just toasted, and behind it is a building. And then to the left of that is another building that are both just perfectly standing. And if you look even farther to the left, you can barely make out a car. And that car is absolutely crispified.
I see it. So was this a common thing where you would see devastation and maybe a short distance away that it seems fine?
Even more extreme than this, there were many situations where there would be, say, 5 houses and the one in the middle is untouched and the other 5 are not just burned, but to the ground, ash like this.
Okay.
It's shocking, yeah.
So the house across the street, I don't know if you work for them or if they've called for your services, but what's it like inside? Obviously, there's going to be some smoke.
Well,
what's the situation with these standing houses when it comes to restoration work?
Now, these particular homes were not ones that we addressed. We did 2 homes out there in the beginning of first week of November was our first trip out. We did 2. They were about 5,000 square foot homes. They were big homes, beautiful homes. And by the time we got there, most of the restoration work had been done by the restoration company that contracted us. And there really wasn't any visible repercussions from the fire, really. Just the HVAC itself was untouched. So when we did the HVAC, of course, we removed soot that was very apparent in there. And then, of course, we did the follow-up treatments to the duct system like that. But inside the homes, you walked in and unless you're looking out the window, you never would have known anything happened.
It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to say about this picture? Right in town, looks like.
Yeah, that's actually, I believe that's that same trailer that was in the other one. Okay. But look at those cars. I mean, that's a hot fire.
Yeah, there's really nothing. I mean, you don't see trees right up to it. The flames got to this and we see the result. Yeah. Fire is amazing. Devastation. Another one I put this one here to talk about because you see the bridge in the background, but this house, I guess it was a house, is gone. The trees are still there. Even some green leaves on the trees.
That's another thing. And, wildfire science really gets into the effect of fire on different trees. For example, old growth versus new growth. Old growth can usually withstand it, has thick bark, and it's by the time it's old growth, it's probably been through countless fires. In this particular photo, this was the last photo I took on that trip. I liked it because it did show the water of the McKenzie River and the bridge in the background, and then the leveled house. And if you look toward the foreground of that photo, you'll see the motorcycle. It's a Harley Davidson. I'm a motorcycle man, so it broke my heart to see that. And we do have a close-up photo, I think we're going to be showing later, of that motorcycle. If not, it's in the slideshow that you did.
Yeah, it's coming up. It may be the next one. There it is.
Yep.
There's your Harley.
Man, I climbed down the ravine to take a picture of that one. I couldn't resist taking that photo.
Yeah.
That's my favorite photo of the group, just because of just the wow factor.
It tells the story, doesn't it?
It does.
This belonged to someone. It meant something to somebody. And here we are.
Yeah, a bike like that usually is a pretty sentimental object to the owner. And so I would imagine this would be pretty hard on them.
Did people have time to respond to this fire? Like, it must have caught a lot of people by surprise. Otherwise, this motorcycle would be in Bend, Oregon, where you live, I think.
Exactly, right? In my garage. But, that's kind of a tricky question. And to be honest with you, I don't have the complete answer to that. So I'm not feel confident answering, but I am pretty sure that there really weren't mortalities in this fire, but people did have to pack up and get going pretty darn quickly.
Yeah, and the human nature is to save your property. So I imagine some did try to do that, whether they use water or cut down some brush or something. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, but human nature, abandoning your home would be a tough thing.
Yes.
Or your motorcycle.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Talk to us a little bit about the support during this fire. I'm sure the restaurants, they weren't all open.
No, none of them were.
And then we have a pandemic going on.
Exactly. So yeah, this was, everything all at once here. I was delighted to see this photo there. I had 2 teams of restoration workers down there, and there wasn't a scrap of food to be found in any restaurant. So when I saw this sign, I followed it over to where it was, in the Lions Club. They had really put together a nice deal. They had some tents up, and they were just offering food to anybody who had anything to do with working on the projects.
Yeah, nice support system.
It was really good food. They were doing burgers and fajitas, and the fajitas were probably the best I've ever had. So big hats off to Lions Club. Thank you to them for being there for us and for everybody.
Yeah, taking care of the workers. All right, let's talk a little bit about the work you did. Obviously, you were in homes. You're doing the duct work, the cleaning. What have we got going on here? We got someone doing the duct work on the left side of the picture, and it looks like you're outside blowing soot off.
That's correct. On the left side, that is Stephen, one of our best technicians in the restorations. You can see we dressed pretty casually out there. Quite what we were going to get into. But he is in that particular process cleaning a return duct to an HVAC system in one of the homes that we did. The cleaning consists of removal of soot and any other debris in there. In the HVAC industry, of course, there's very few, unless you just had your ducts cleaned, you probably need your ducts cleaned anyway. So we're removing all of that construction debris, accumulated dust, and then of course the compounded soot and whatnot from the fire. That's what he's doing in the upper left. And then over to the right, that is a filter. That's a portion of an electronic filter that I'm blowing off with an air compressor. Quite a bit of dust and soot on these things.
Yeah. So if you were to rate this type of cleaning to normal routine duct cleaning, how does it rate? Is this much heavier? Is it more difficult, more time consuming?
That's a great question. And I actually have kind of a little scale that I've kind of just put together. There's cleaning, which of course, cleaning is the removal, as Jeff Jones, I'm gonna try to quote him, of GBAC says, the definition of cleaning is the removal of visible and invisible foreign material. Okay, so that's getting rid of the dust, the debris, and just cleaning them out. And when we do clean ducts, we clean them very thoroughly. I mean, you could practically shave off the reflection of these puppies when we're done. That's cleaning. Okay, then there's commercial duct cleaning, which is typically a little bit bigger deal, requires a little more. And then we get into disaster restoration, which would be typical fire and flood restoration. Then there's to what we refer as forensic restoration. I believe I did an article for you several years ago. Dead bodies can breathe new life into your duct cleaning business. An article for Clean Facts magazine.
Yeah.
We went in and did some forensic HVAC restoration. And then above that, and this is just my rating of how I view these, would be meth decontamination, which can also very, very readily be done with HVAC as well. So this would be right in the middle there. This would be along the lines of a fire restoration, like after a portion of the home had caught fire and filled with smoke and whatnot.
And your cleaning system obviously is safe to use, and it doesn't kick up the dirt inside the house. You're outside blowing it off, but what's his name? Steven in the picture here?
Steven in the photo,
Steven.
yeah.
So he's not breathing into the air coming out of the ductwork?
Correct. What he's doing is he's actually feeding that whip into the return duct where the movement is going to go forward.
Okay.
And, pull the particulate into a filtration system. Now he does mask, he's just feeding the hose in this particular photo. He still does mask up once we turn the air on.
Well, David, maybe I need to take a duct cleaning class to understand all this. So
come on down.
We have 2 more slides to look at, I believe. It's something you sent, global warming and how it's increased over 2,000 years. Tell us about this.
Okay, well, global warming is a controversial subject, although it has excellent science to back it up. It's not an opinion, it is a fact. Our planet is going through a rapid, extreme warming trend. As you can see, when you go back to zero, which was 2,000 years ago, there is a steady climb and decline in global temperatures. And then once we reach the Industrial Revolution, that puppy's straight up. CO2, methane, things like this in our atmosphere are just creating a greenhouse effect, which do just skyrocket global temperatures. Practically every year, we're breaking the previous year record for high temperatures. And this leads to wildfires. Well, what we experience is droughts. So the trees and the wood, the dead wood and what in the forest and whatnot get drier. The elevated temperatures and whatnot, of course, increase the chance of wildfire, not just the frequency, but the intensity of the fires and the duration of the what we call a fire season. There almost isn't even a fire season anymore. It's almost year round now. So
yeah. Now, I have no idea how they know all this going back in time. In fact, our next slide goes back.
Right.
I don't know,
800,000 years.
800,000. So there must be quite the science to figure out what happened back then. Right. But we can see the current results for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, science is pretty amazing. Yeah. And these climate scientists, they have ways of figuring what it was based on many different things. But yeah, that is an accurate scale. And once again, you can see now the previous slide was the gas emissions, the CO2 levels, the methane levels and whatnot. And no, excuse me, the last one was the temperature. Excuse me. This one is the greenhouse gas levels. Now, if you look at the dates, okay, right at the Industrial Revolution, once again, those levels skyrocket, direct parallel with the elevated temperatures globally as well. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer that there's a relationship between the two.
Yeah. Well, this is very interesting stuff, David. I guess when you go back to this area and you maybe get a few more pictures, we'll revisit the issue. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, we're going to be going back there soon. I'll definitely be snapping more photos and getting a hold of you.
All right. Have a good day.